Multiple days of severe weather are anticipated across a large portion of the central and southern United States over the next coming days, and we need to watch it very closely as there is some very high potential for damaging storms in this time frame. So we're going to break all of that down as well as a longer range discussion and a pattern discussion towards the end of the video, so stick around for that. Otherwise, we're going to get going. Please consider liking this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. We're so close to 470 subscribers, so if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button. It really helped me out. And of course, and more importantly to me, please leave a comment down below where you're watching from, and I would greatly appreciate it. So to get started here, I'm going to show you these outlooks, and we're going to kind of break them down here. So starting off with today's outlook, yes, we do have some severe weather potential today. I'm going to show you right here. Here's the radar. So there are some storms. Some of these have been severe warned. I even think I saw a tornado warning earlier. So there's severe potential in this. This is just nothing in comparison to what we're going to see tomorrow. So I'm not focused overly much on this. But let's move to tomorrow's threat. We have had an upgrade to an enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5 in areas of Texas. That's the main change since yesterday, so we're going to break it down. Starting in the south, from the Central Plains point south here, all the way down to the U.S.-Mexico border here, we have a severe threat. And now let's break this down. This obviously goes by type here. I mean, this is a level 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5, and 3 out of 5 in the orange. So let's break this down here. We do have a tornado threat in this area. And anywhere in green is a 2% risk of a tornado within 25 miles of any given spot. So you could, if you're dead center of Oklahoma right here, you could draw a 20 mile like radius. And anywhere in there, there's a 2% chance a tornado would fall. And that's the way all of these outlooks work. So obviously there's this 2% risk. It's very large. And then there's a very much more focused area down here in central and southern Texas, all the way up to the Red River, where we have a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles of any given location. And this is outlined in the brown. This black shading, hatching, if you will, that indicates that these tornadoes could get up to EF2 tornadoes. Of course, it's possible these tornadoes exceed that, but this is what they're expecting. This is the max reasonable intensity of these tornadoes. And now moving up to the north, this is a very much a main area, if you will. I think that this threat is more conditional. There are fail modes for this and reasons that it might not play out like this. And we'll break that down here in just a minute. But so far, here's what we have. Obviously, this black shading goes pretty far, but to focus really in on the main areas here, central and northern Illinois is where we're seeing the highest potential for tornadoes, and that is outlined by a 10% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of any given location, and the max intensity of these tornadoes expected are to be EF2 or so. And this extends over into northern Indiana. A brown 5% risk surrounds this all the way into northern Missouri, some few counties in Iowa, and then even up to southern areas, far southern areas, that is, of Michigan. So there is a threat here. Obviously, this 2% goes down to the Central Plains, but that's just a notably lower risk. So zooming back out here, here's our wind threat. Primarily, guys, what I'm really watching is down here in Texas for a line of storms to develop that could be pretty intense in areas. We'll go over those wind gust potential in the next few minutes or so. But we have a 30% chance of winds exceeding 55 knots down here in this red shaded area. Of course, that's within 25 miles of any given location, as usual. And this is included with this black hashing, which means that these wind gusts could be up to hurricane force, which is 65 knots or possibly greater. And that is surrounded by a broad 15% risk in the yellow and an even broader 5% risk in the brown. Now, moving up, I could see maybe an upgrade to a red 30% risk up here, kind of in some of these same areas, Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, but nothing too crazy. I'm watching that. But so far we have a 15% risk, and it is not hatched, which means that these winds likely will not reach past 55 knots. And if you don't know what that is, that's 60 miles per hour or so. And now focusing in on our hail threat here, we have essentially a double-barreled threat here. It's pretty much the entire outlook. Goes all the way from southern Texas all the way up to southern Michigan and Wisconsin here. And the colors work the same way as the wind. Red is 30%. Yellow is 15, and then brown is 5. And this black hatching means that they could reach, these hailstones that is, could reach up to 2 inches in diameter or of course possibly larger, but that's the max reasonable intensity or size, that is, of these hailstones is 2 inches. And this is in a lot of these same areas we just talked about. I do want to note that the hatching in this northern part is much larger. It goes all the way back to central Kansas. So there's just a bigger potential in square mileage up here to see large hailstones. So let's go right here, and I'll show you our Wednesday threat as well. We do have one. It shifts everything to the east and a little bit to the south as usual. This is what we got right now. I'm not going to get overly detailed on this. I'm just going to show you this outlook. So we do have a risk. So far, the max risk we have is a slight risk, level 2 out of 5. Goes all the way from Pennsylvania down to central and southern Louisiana, even into Texas. The Arklatex is included here. We'll break this down more in tomorrow's video. So, getting started here, I'm going to show you guys a few different things. The HRRR model is the main model we're going to use here. I'm going to show you multiple different graphics in here, so just stick around for this. The time is above my head, so let's get started. Starting off tomorrow morning, about the time the sun is coming up. And you will see multiple rounds of storms that show up in this in these bolder colors, and you can see the Storm Prediction Center outlook is underlaid here. So as we're working our way into lunchtime and just after, clusters of storms begin to develop in this enhanced risk here. Central and west central Texas, all the way up to the Red River. And now, I do want to note there, back here, some of these storms could be more isolated, even over into New Mexico. So it's something to watch. The risk area does not go over there, likely because it is a little bit dry. The thermodynamics is not really in place. But moving on here is getting into the afternoon, and some of these storms are very intense. And of course, they can produce very large hail in this area as well. Some discrete cells are definitely on the table here. We have multiple different line segments, Boeing line segments here, could be producing wind damage. We'll go over those wind damage graphics here in a second. And you see just a lot of them. And then the main show gets going as the sun is setting in this area. And this time, by the way, I should mention, this is in Eastern Daylight Time. This is not in Central Time, so I don't have that option yet. Hopefully they add that to this website. We don't have it right now. So moving past that, we see the main show start to develop as the sun's going down in areas of Texas here. And this could be very intense in some areas. I'm somewhat worried about this just from a straight line damaging wind potential. But this kind of breaks apart as we're getting into early Wednesday morning. So something to consider there. And then moving up to the north, this is where I think we have a more volatile all-around environment. And I'll explain that more in a second. But this is starting off. Notice when we're starting off here, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Central Time, all that good stuff. Starting off in the afternoon, not the morning, because storms hold off and go back several frames, so nothing's happening. Well, you get to the mid to late afternoon here, and these are what I'm worried about. These individual cells that form in this enhanced risk area are concerning to me because of the parameter space they will be in. Pretty much everything is lining up for this to be a pretty high ceiling event. If we go moderate, a level 4 out of 5, I think it will be up here in areas of Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, and Iowa, somewhere in here. I'm not saying we're going to get that, but I think it's very possible that we get that. And now you might be thinking, well, there's not a whole lot of storms in this enhanced risk area. This is one run of the HRRR. Other runs will show different things than this, but there definitely are discrete cells in this area. I think the Storm Prediction Center has captured the overall threat quite well here. And I mean, as we move through and into the overnight, very much an overnight threat. You see how lit up this map is? I mean, just insane, the number of storms that we have here, all the way down into the southern plains. I mean, just large areas, Boeing line segments. This is one of the reasons I think that we could get an enhanced risk equivalent for damaging winds, that 30% risk up in this area because of line segments like this. I mean, this is 3 a.m., so 2 a.m. Central Time, rolling through central Illinois. Here we have a Boeing line segment. That could be producing very strong winds, and I'm concerned about that. But it's just a very messy, nasty look for storms all the way through Wednesday morning. Any of these could be severe at any given time. So let's look into this parameter space a little bit. What you're looking at right here is the supercell composite parameter. This pretty much just summarizes the atmosphere pretty well. So areas of pink, red, all of this are the higher values, and where you have these higher values is pretty much the more favorable environment for storms to form in. This is starting off tomorrow afternoon, right about lunchtime. You might be thinking, Well, Charlie, what about down here in Texas? All of it's gone. Well, it's because storms have already eaten it up. Because as we looked at a second ago, storms form in Texas relatively early, so that's why. But out ahead of them, we do have those higher values. But watch, I'm concerned about this. I really am. We get to 4 or 5 p.m. We get supercell composite values over 15 up in areas of Missouri here. I'm kind of going to focus in on this area up here. Those are very, very high values. They don't correlate to anything specific, but they are there, and that's concerning to me. We move on here, and take this frame right here, 9 p.m., so 8 p.m. Central Time. The sun's going down, and we have supercell composites. The cursor won't even read out these values because the color map doesn't go over 15. So this is telling me we could be up to 20 in some of these areas. But Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Missouri is a big hotspot area. And I'm concerned about this because it's not often you get a parameter space like this. And this is just what you get. This is the consequences of all atmospheric parameters and dynamics coming together to make one singular area. And this is what we get. And this is why our tornado potential is higher in this area. And this just lingers. We're getting into Wednesday afternoon here. And for our severe threat that goes all the way from Texas to Pennsylvania here, here's the composite parameter there. So we got a good parameter space for that as well. Just a lot. And then moving past that, I also want to mention here, this is our max accumulated wind gust through pretty much tomorrow's event. And this looks messy. I know it does. And it might be a little bit hard to interpret this. But more than anything, I want to focus in down here. Do you see some of these? It might be a little bit hard to see. I'll zoom in. But some of these like little pockets here, that indeed does say 87 miles per hour. Do I think we're going to have an 87 mile per hour wind gust from a convective cell tomorrow? Probably not. That's pretty hard to achieve. But this is the HRRR model picking up on these little Boeing line segments doing destructive things in Texas, for example. And you might be wondering what's going on in the panhandles here in Oklahoma. Well, this is kind of a cluster of storms that's along the front here, and so it could really get the winds going up into the 50s and 60s back here. This might not even be thunderstorm related. This might just be a very windy day behind the front here. But you can also see up in this area, there are little pockets from these cells that get up near 70 miles per hour with our wind gusts. So a lot of potential there. All of this mess down here is from the storms we're seeing today. So we have potential here for getting some of these storms even over into South Carolina. So I want to note that. And now looking at our updraft helicity swaths here, this is a measure of total updraft rotation. So this is essentially a tornado graphic more than anything else. And areas you see with these highlighted values are just areas where the storms rotate more, to put it simply. And down here in Texas, in this enhanced risk, we do have some very long updraft helicity streaks. This indicates to me that some of these storms could put down tornadoes that are on the ground for an extended period of time. And then I also want to go up to this northern mode here, and it's the same story. We're not talking, guys, I want to reiterate this, we're not talking some sort of, historic, insane outbreak where there's hundreds of tornadoes on the ground throughout the day. I don't think so. It doesn't look like that. But these little longer updraft helicity streaks here through northern Illinois, for example, that right there is a tornado that's on the ground for tens to hundreds of miles. So we have potential for it. That's all I'm going to say. And there's just a lot here, a lot to unpack. So moving on here, I'm going to go into a longer range discussion. I'm going to try to make this as quick as I can because we spent a lot of time on tomorrow's event. So this is the GFS model starting off tomorrow morning, and you'll see several things on this map. Green is rain, blue is snow, pink is freezing rain, and then the kind of yellow colors will be sleet. You'll also see these red dotted or dashed lines and blue of the same. And those blue lines are really on this map to indicate where cold air is. And I'll explain that as we move into it here. So moving on, let's get this in motion. You'll see, here's our storm coming together. Even for Wednesday, this is getting into Wednesday morning here. You can see all of this green and yellow and orange with snow and freezing rain on the northern side of it. Now you see those blue lines dropping past the Dakotas and to Kansas. It's indicating that colder air is filtering in behind this. Could be a pretty chilly, breezy day in the central and northern plains behind this system. But this shot of cold air associated with this system is relatively strong according to the GFS. So definitely something to consider there. Now, moving past that, there's a clipper that dives in for the Northeast. Definitely some big snow for you guys if that happens. Now, we're past 100 hours at this point. Anything beyond here is up in the air, and it is no longer a forecast. I want to reiterate that. But moving past that, we have multiple clippers, and we even have some sort of overrunning event where you could have freezing rain. But this is an interesting time frame. March the 16th or so through the 18th is a time frame I'm watching for a very potent shot of cold air. And let's see if our global model guidance runs here show it. They do. I mean, this guy's is pretty insane. We have cold air dropping down to the deep south, to the Gulf Coast states. We're not talking about freezing temperatures along the Gulf Coast, maybe not quite that intense, but we are seeing potential for a very potent shot of cold air that could bring us drastically back to winter in a lot of these areas, because winter kind of got out of here pretty quick and pretty randomly almost. And I think it might be trying to come back one last time. This might be one of the ways it does so, but it also gets snow down to the southern Appalachian Mountains. So something to consider there. Not a forecast. This is out there. And then the GFS starts doing GFS things. It gets snow and rain down into central and southern Texas and Louisiana. Do I buy that? Absolutely not. Not at this range. 180 hours out is not a good range here. And this is the GFS model. So there's multiple reasons I don't buy this. And so don't take that as gospel. But we move past that. And there's clippers that dive down pretty far to the south. This is an extended period. This is Wednesday, March the 18th. You can see these blue lines have dropped all the way down to the Gulf Coast. And this is cold air aloft. So this is not only at the surface, but this is just bringing us much cooler temperatures across the central and eastern United States. And it shows up as snow. And that's one of the results of this, even in Arkansas. I don't buy that. Not yet. But and this is getting out there, 255 hours into the 20th and the 21st, past that point. And look at the Northeast. We just have an extended period of colder air based on this model, the GFS here, for the Northeast through past the 20th. And we have to watch for that snow up there. And there's another shot of cold air that comes in. And it almost pops off what looks like a blizzard off of the Northeast coast. Again, GFS doing GFS things, not a forecast. But even out at the end of the run, we have cold air lingering for the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic here. So a lot of changes on the way based on this model. So what about the good old reliable European model? What does it show? Well, starting off tomorrow morning here, you will see multiple rounds of rain and snow. And then we get into tomorrow and Wednesday's threat, and you can see the system kind of phasing and coming together, if you will. You see snow on the northern side here. All of this down here is likely some form of severe weather. You see freezing rain up here in areas of Ontario and Quebec. So something to watch for you guys up there. I know I don't cover you a lot, but definitely a threat there. But it gets freezing rain into Maine as well. And this is 54 hours out. It's not far. So we'll focus on that more as we get closer. But man, there's a shot of cold air that comes in behind it, pretty potent. And then this is where we're starting to look for pattern changes. So we get into the teens for days here in March, past the 13th or so. And look at all these very aggressive looking clippers. I mean, look at this big chungus of a system right here. I mean, the European has been showing this on the 15th, 14th through the 16th or so. The huge system here, a ton of snow, freezing rain, all that good stuff. Not quite sure if I buy the amplification of this system, but we'll see. That's very possible. But that's a big system. And on the backside, this is what I'm talking about. We get into the 16th. And look at this cold air, very distinct area of well below average temperatures starting to drop down all the way to the Gulf Coast. A very large area of the U.S. under the gun for this. And it's actually so intense, I might add, that areas of, say, the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, even though you're bordered by cold air, it pushes the moisture out of the way. It's so intense. So you don't even have a chance for snow based on this run. This is 180 hours, not a forecast by any means. We're looking for pattern recognition here, and we're also looking for the overarching theme, and our ensemble guidance supports this. We'll go over that in a second. But I mean, the European, I should say, is a little bit more conservative with not throwing snow way to the south. I mean, it throws it into Virginia and far northern North Carolina, which is not necessarily normal, but it does do it. So something to consider. And we get past that. This is the end of the run, 360 hours out there. And so this is Tuesday, March the 24th. Still some cold air hanging on, although the European model is a little bit more dynamic, as in we're flipping back and forth between warm and cold a little bit more than say the GFS is. So something to consider there. So moving past that, here's our snowfall totals. I'm not going to show you rainfall totals. I showed you those the last little while. I'm going to call that done for right now. So this is our snowfall totals in the kind of central and eastern United States. The Dakotas down to Nebraska here. This is where we're seeing the most of a signal for the central U.S. so far. There is a signal down through Kansas. Tells me that some of these runs do throw some snow for this area, just not a lot. And again, this is the European Ensemble. This is a pretty reliable thing to look at. Combines 51 members to make this, so a lot goes into this. So there's a lot here. But when you look towards the Great Lakes and up into Canada here, and there's a very impressive signal for just a lot of snow. And this is through the next 360 hours. So this is through pretty much the last week or so of March, and we have quite a lot of snow here. But really focusing in on the east, this is where I think we could have some kind of sneaky systems here. We have lots of snow for the Northeast, very high totals in some of these areas. And then you can also see down the spine of the Appalachian Mountains into North Carolina, South Carolina, even areas of far northern Georgia, Virginia. There's a signal here. It tells me that some of these runs do give us something. And I'm not forecasting, please don't take this as that. I'm not forecasting that Georgia and South Carolina are going to get 6 inches of snow by the end of the month. It's, of course, never out of the question, but that's probably about as far from a reality as we can get. That's not going to happen. And if you ever see some people saying that, or posting something on social media that is trying to get you to believe that this pattern change is going to bring snow that far south as a given, don't believe that yet. There's a chance for it, but don't buy onto that quite yet. But just something to consider there. So moving past this, I do want to show us a little bit of our pattern, what's driving all of this. So I'll do this as quick as I can here. I'm going to go ahead and run the drawing tool so it can be doing its thing in the background. So starting off tomorrow morning here, we can see a cutoff low sitting down here over the Baja California regions. And what this is doing is a whole lot of nothing. It's been here for days now, and it will phase with this northern stream energy in the next couple days after this. So this is what's going to drive our severe weather threats. Now, before I go further, what you're looking at here is whether we have troughing or ridging in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. So areas of red, like you see over the eastern U.S. here, are areas of higher pressure, higher heights aloft, and what that is doing is bringing warmer air to the surface. And then areas of blue, like this blue circle you see down here, are areas where there is lower pressure in the atmosphere, and that is bringing colder air to the surface. And the same goes for this blue area up here. And now this is what I'm watching for. This blue up here in Canada and the northern US and this blob of blue down here, when they phase, this is when we could get something to go boom. And here we're getting into Wednesday and Thursday, and this is when this system is starting to unfold across the northern tier of the country with a lot of snow and severe weather to the south, kind of when these pieces of energy phase together a little bit more. But getting past that and into a more interesting time frame here, here's the 15th, 16th, 17th. This is a massive trough. I mean, this is ensemble guidance, 180 hours away. And this is just a very, very impressive signal to me for a massive shot of cold air to come all the way from the polar regions up north, all the way down to the Gulf coastline. And you can see it, this massive area of blue, and you can follow these black lines, and where they point, kind of back up here, is where the air is coming from. Tells the story pretty well, I think. But, I mean, this is spilling all the way down here, and it's starting to, then it moves up off to the north. So there is a very big shot of cold air based on our ensemble guidance. Pretty reliable thing to look at. But I also want you to note the ridge that builds in out west. I mean, this is a huge ridge. This is going to bring well above average temperatures to the Central Plains points west, along the Rockies points west mainly here. And you still have these neutral to even troughing signatures showing up over the east. And this could just bring an extended period of neutral to below average temperatures to the east. But getting past that, March the 20th, March the 21st, the 22nd, there's kind of another little trough that moves in for the northeast, and it's 300 hours. And this is out there, guys. 24th, and this is our last frame. So we have a ridge in the southern tier of the country and then troughing up to the north, and this is likely bringing some sort of temperature battleground for this area. So let's look at temperatures and dissect those for you. This is starting off tomorrow morning. Areas of red are above average, blue is below. And so let's get going here. You'll see a lot of red, but you'll also see more blue working in. Primarily, once we get into the 15th, 16th, obviously there's smaller scale shots of cooler air moving in here, but the main show comes in the 14th, 15th, 16th, and here it is, right here. A well-defined area of below average temperatures, even well below average, talking, maybe 10 to 15, maybe 20 degrees below average in some locations, starts to make its presence known, and you're going to feel it in a lot of these areas that you see in blue here. And another feature of note here, this boundary right here could be a focus for some sort of storm system, severe weather, winter weather, all that good stuff. But this is not all that far out for ensemble guidance. 174 hours is a good range for ensemble guidance, and it shows it. But it makes its way to the east and drops down. I mean, this frame right here, the afternoon of Tuesday, March the 17th, we're chilling over here, literally, in the central and eastern half of the United States. It's split pretty evenly here. There's just a lot of cold. And then we're not talking teens in the deep south. We're not talking that. But our daytime high temperatures could be even in the upper 40s and 50s, even in the deep south. So pretty wild stuff, even for March. But I mean, moving past that, that kind of hangs on for the I-95 corridor. It tries to stick around, but it does lose. We get past the 20th, it starts to warm up again. But we again, right out at the end of this run, we're kind of neutral to just slightly below or above average. So pretty much neutral across everywhere along and then east of the Mississippi River. West of the Mississippi River here is more warm, and then the Southern Rockies are cooking. But you look up here in Canada, and there's more cold air residing, which means that we're also going to run the risk of it dropping down again, and we're doing the whole thing again. So wild, wild stuff. So all that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate you guys tuning in and spending some time with me this evening. I plan to have you guys a video out tomorrow afternoon or something. I got co-op tomorrow, so I'll be pretty tired, but we'll get it out to you guys, give you guys some updated information. And if nothing else, I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.